My name is Doowan. I spent my entire life analyzing and combating extremism and autocracy, especially in the information environment. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a venture-backed AI tech company. I was very lucky to find my first teaching job with the federal government, especially with the Department of Defense. And it was an incredibly rewarding career. I was very fortunate to function as a principal scientist and investigator. So I was working with a lot of, household name funding agencies to develop and execute R&D projects to be able to track and understand how extremist networks and authoritarian regimes use social media, but also other media outlets to undermine and disrupt political processes elsewhere. I thought this fight was mostly taking place outside my own country. I should have known better though. I should have known that this information warfare knows few geographic or institutional boundaries. Think about the COVID pandemic and the war in Ukraine. It has become almost impossible to authenticate or validate what we consume to understand what's happening on the ground. And this has been essentially the watershed moment that shattered how we understand events, because think about this, a lot of times we don't get to see real events. We get to see them through a lot of online venues and platforms. And at this point, I would offer that there are two characteristics that really trouble me. Number one is that no story, no event is immune from mischaracterization or disinformation. Number two, it used to be confined to national security matters, but now if you think about the COVID pandemic and how it has ushered in this persistent doubt about science, now it's become essentially every aspect of our social, economic, and political life. And it's not just about good or bad. I don't think it's black and white. Problem is that essentially there are 50 shades of truth out there, but it's really hard to tell which shade is closer to white or which shade is closer to black at this point. It means something more fundamental to our way of life, and that is we have lost control over how we engage digital content, even though digital content has become the most essential aspect of how we engage others, how we understand events, how we tell our stories. Name one conflict where information was not used. Name one conflict where storytelling was not used to justify belligerence or to justify how you mobilize people to go out there and sacrifice their lives for some major political agenda or purpose. So this notion of storytelling, fictional storytelling, has been an enduring feature of social life and geopolitics. The trend has not changed very much, but the pace is so exhilarating and overwhelming. I don't think we are properly prepared to handle this kind of volume of data. When you go to a supermarket, right? There's so many different aisles. There's so many different sections. Do you feel overwhelmed in terms of what you're going to buy for dinner? No, because you can essentially have certain indicators, certain labels, certain markers that help you find what you need, and you know what kind of ingredients you have to buy to perhaps prepare a decent meal or a healthy meal for yourself, for your family, for your friends, and etc. So even though it's overwhelming volume of food and ingredients, we provide certain indicators, markers, and labels so individuals can make better decisions about how they consume food. So just replace food with content. Now what we have is this ginormous supermarket with lots of aisles, lots of sections, right? But we have no labels. We have no markers. We don't know whether we're eating 500 hours of saturated fat or whether we are eating, right, 200 hours of healthy content. To me, it's about giving the individual the tools to make the right decisions to consume online content. And that's the missing piece at this point. I think the problem right now is that there is this thick fog of war on digital content. So to me, it's not about objectivity, but again, letting people see where things come from and what they are. That's it. Because let me give you a very good example. We have this really weird political divide about China and Russia. So liberals tend to be a little bit more forgiving to China, gung-ho against Russia. Conservatives tend to be all out against China, but tend to be a little bit more lukewarm with Russia. And the reason I bring this point is that when I tell my progressive friends that, hey, the stuff you're consuming online, they originate from Chinese propaganda sites, right? And they pause. And they, oh my God, I am an American first. I am an American progressive. I cannot believe that I was amplifying Chinese propaganda, right? They pause. They rethink. I think to me that moment is so important for us to give the individual the power of critical thinking again. Same goes to the other side of the spectrum. When I tell my conservative friends, that story about COVID, conspiracy, that actually came from a thinly disguised Russian propaganda site. And of course, a lot of conservatives tend to be very proud patriots. And when they realize that are just amplifying foreign propaganda and foreign disinformation, they pause. And there is also really powerful social proof mechanism in place because no conservative wants to be seen as a foreign agent by other conservatives. And no progressive wants to be characterized as supporting Chinese persecution of minority groups by other progressives. And that is really the power of being able to provide transparency in the media ecosystem. We do that, we win. It's really about the team and three aspects of this team that got me really excited and enthusiastic. Number one is about how the diversity of different skill sets come together as a whole. And one thing that I immediately notice about New Debate is the diversity of talents. Number two is about what I call conviction, and that is, do they share the same mission? Do they have the same conviction? Are they all driven enough to withstand a lot of hardship to get to the mission? And I think that was abundantly clear. Number three is that there was something bigger than just starting a company. There was this public mission they were trying to internalize in their culture, in their approach to everything. I think that's what got me really enthusiastic about New Debate. To me, the extent of political polarization is really alarming in our country and perhaps in other advanced industrial countries at this point. I think we become so accustomed to this level of polarization in the past 5 years. We almost forgot that what bridges this polarization is engagement. So I'm hoping that New Debate will create a lot of content that will essentially animate engagement.